Welcome back, everyone. Next up, we have RDARS, or Remote Drone Alarm Response System. And it's much more than just a drone company. RDARS is an advanced autonomous robotics company that produces products specifically designed for the security markets and to comply with current and future FAA regulations. It trades on the CSE under the symbol RDRS and on the OTCQB under the symbol RDRSF. Joining us today is Jason Braverman, CTO of RDARS. Jason has been a technology leader in the drone industry for the last 10 years. Previously, he held the position at SkyX, where he built the largest drone-in-a-box solution on the market. And Jason has a long history of innovation and bringing complex solutions to the market. We are happy to welcome Jason to the Emerging Growth Conference today. Welcome, Jason.
Hey, Anna, it's great to be with you. And I couldn't have said it better myself. That was really great. Thank you.
That's what I'm here for. All right, take it away, Jason. Call me back when you're ready for questions.
Okay. So, as Anna said, we are a drone company that is tailor-made for the security industry. Everything we've done in this company has been designed to promote our products specifically for situational awareness in large infrastructure complexes, campuses, things like that, where you need eyes on a target, but you can't move those cameras that you have everywhere else. And since we're tailor-made, we built our technology from the ground up to fit with regulatory approval. And I think that's really the most critical thing about what this company is doing versus your average drone company. I mean, everybody's heard of drones, but not everybody has built a product from the ground up to comply with regulations. Skipping forward, we've built our own command and control software called EagleWatch. EagleWatch is a mission critical application that can run globally in highly redundant centers on Amazon Web Services or some other cloud provider, providing mission critical operations. So if your drone operation is happening at a site in Tennessee, let's say, and the network goes down at the operations center that's controlling that in, say, Miami, you could take over instantly from any operation center in the world. So if somebody was operating in London, per se, and they got the mission handed off to them instantly saying, hey, Miami's down, you're taking over this mission, it will automatically seek out the next available operator and allow them to control the mission. So all of these things, there's thousands of little features and functions and logic that we've built into the system that allow it to be completely redundant, safe to operate, and mission critical, so that when we approach the FAA, they will get an understanding that, hey, this is not just your basic drone, get a guy out on the ground with a remote control and fly around some structure somewhere and have the potential to cause damage to people, property, or airspace, for that matter. The technology centers around Eagle Nest. So Eagle Nest, for all intents and purposes, is the drone's little house. It lives in this weatherized box that you see on the screen, and it has a number of unique features, some of which that I won't tell because I don't want my competitors to know what we've done. But the bottom line is that these nests can be deployed almost anywhere. Rooftops are the #1 place to put them. They could be put on poles at the top of highways or other infrastructure that you want to look at. And then using that technology in combination with Starlink's internet service from SpaceX, we can provide a completely off-grid solution so that no matter where you want to put these, you can always have communications to and from your drone operation. Next up is Eagle Eye. So lots of people, drones, especially quadcopters like this, are a dime a dozen. DJI, Autel, and other companies have built phenomenal drones. Our technology is, again, designed specifically for night operations and, of course, day operations as well, but specifically for night operations when most alarms tend to go off. We've incorporated a number of unique features into a drone this size. So we're the only drone that I'm aware of at this scale and this size that has a redundant flight control system. So if the main autopilot fails, the secondary autopilot will take over. We have RTK GPS on board. We have a IR illuminated front 4K camera, which again, to my knowledge, is fairly unique. We have an onboard thermal camera for providing those very cool predator-like vision videos that people like to see, but that allows you to see at night. So you're reflecting the heat back from an individual, and you're able to pick up those heat signatures so you can see things that you would not normally see, even with an IR camera at night. And of course, the drone has shrouds, and it has all the secondary and tertiary features that would give it an FAA approval. The next up is something we're calling Eagle XLM. So this is still in R&D, and we're hopefully releasing this in the next quarter. This product is a much larger version of Eagle Nest and Eagle Eye. And this product is designed to provide long distance operations for search and rescue, fire detection in forestry services, or any disaster relief area where you need to bring in a system and operate. Now, again, that's not so unusual, and companies are doing it all the time. What makes this technology different is that it's a completely off-grid solution based on Starlink as your communications platform, which allows you to go into a completely devastated area or an area that has no communications whatsoever, and then not only provide full video and audio services, but the drone can actually extend your internet services to a remote area. So the drone could fly out 5 or 10 miles away from the vehicle and relay a Wi-Fi hotspot to people on the ground who may be in need of help. So they can, with their cell phone, just connect to the drone like you would connect to the Wi-Fi at your house, and they can make calls and see what's going on and talk to people on the other side. So that's a really cool and critical feature that I think we're providing that hasn't existed in the past. To round out the overall security market offerings that we're bringing to the table, we recognize the need to do indoor operations. So that it's great if your drone can fly around the building and capture doors and windows and gates and other important things on your facility that might be of interest to you. Either on an on-demand basis or on a regular basis or on an alarm response basis, because it ties into your alarm system. But it's also important that we know what's going on inside the building. Most alarms tend to be false alarms. Something like 98% are false alarms. So having a system that can respond indoors to those types of alarms would be very beneficial as well. And to that end, we built Eagle Rover. So Eagle Rover is about a 3-foot tall autonomous robotic system that is remotely viewable by a remote operator, as are all of our systems. And it extends the eyes and ears of that remote operator to the inside of your facility. So if you had a motion detector that went off at 3 o'clock in the morning, or you had a smoke alarm that went off at 2 o'clock in the morning, Rover would automatically start responding and broadcasting the video from its camera array in its head to the remote operator, and allow that remote operator to verify, yes, is there actually smoke here, or is there nothing and I can't detect anything? And I'm recording all of this, and I can notify the owners and the authorities exactly what is going on at that location. So whether you're a very high security facility and someone is at a location or a place in the facility that they shouldn't be at 2 o'clock in the morning, or it's just a regular warehousing infrastructure type of operation, and you have a smoke alarm that went off, you don't have to get some guy in a golf cart to go out there, and it could take him 5 to 10 minutes just to get there. Our rover can be on the location in less than 1 or 2 minutes, depending on the distance from where it happens to be. So this offering, in conjunction with Eagle Eye and Eagle Nest, provide a complete situational awareness solution for anyone with large infrastructure or secure infrastructure that wants more information. As you can see from the slide, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity both in the commercial, industrial, and federal markets, and even in the residential markets. There are people that have large farms and ranches that could use this technology. One of the things when I got into this company and took over as CTO, one of my research points was, was this a moneymaker? Because at the end of the day, if we're not making money, what's the point of building the technology? And when the company started in 2019, I argued that it would have been difficult to build a cost-effective technology. However, as of now, in 2020 and 2021, technology has become more cost-effective, and we can actually introduce a drone-in-a-box solution that is a third of the cost of any other drone-in-a-box solution on the market today. So an average system from DJI or Skydio or other companies ranges in the 60,000 plus range just for one drone-in-a-box piece of hardware. And that doesn't include all the extra maintenance costs and operating costs that go along with that. With the RDARS solution, you would get your drone in a box for a third of that cost, and it would be amortized over a 2 to 3 year contract, just like your alarm system. So again, for all intents and purposes, the pricing model is such that it's very easy to get into this market, and you add $400 or $500 a month to your alarm budget, and you now have 24/7 by 365 monitoring on the inside or outside of your facility, providing really crucial data. And the path to market is kind of similar to what we have to do in the drone business. We've got to build the technology, test the technology, deploy the technology, gather data from those deployments, and then give that to the FAA for validation. So at the end of the day, if the FAA won't allow us to deploy, then like everyone else in the drone industry, we're not going to have something that scales. Our entire way of thinking, and the first thing that goes into our heads when we do anything to the product, is how will this affect our FAA approach? We are working with the FAA and university research organizations and legal firms who have consistent history getting BB loss approval. It's beyond visual line of sight, meaning I don't see the drone, I'm not near the drone is operating on its own, and we're safe. In the last year, the FAA has issued BB loss approvals to different companies, and that is a very, very good indicator that we are likely to get some form of approval in late 2023 or early 2024. And again, our model is very different from what anyone else is operating. We're operating at an extremely low altitude of 100 feet above ground level, and no less than 12 feet above ground level. So we can never really interact with human beings, animals, trees, for the most part. We operate very close to infrastructure within that border that surrounds a property. So we're not going to fly all over your campus and take a drone and go out for 2 miles or cross outside private property into public property. And we're certainly not going high into airspace. So in that sense, we also operate in a very unique way that I don't think the FAA or anyone else has seen before. And as such, I think given all of the precautions that we've taken and all of the redundancies that we've put into the technology, we are likely to get some form of an FAA Part 107 waiver that will allow us to operate completely autonomously and remotely, at least at the test sites that we're deployed at, and then finally at similar locations where we can start earning revenue from those customers. Long term, in late 2023, 2024, our goal is to find a channel partner in the security business. So it could be companies like Securitas, G4S, and the like, or it could be a manufacturer of security products like Assa Abloy that would market our products to their existing customer base. And I think that leaves us to focus on the technology and newer innovations as they become available, and let them focus on the sales and marketing. That may or may not happen in the next year or two, but I think long term, 2 to 3 years, we have a tremendous opportunity to break out into the commercial market in a way that nobody else has really been able to do because of our very specific use case and the way that our product is built. I think that we dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, and everything we've built is designed to meet compliance and then some. The team is at the top is myself and Charles Webner. Charles has been around for a very long time in technology. He exited his first company, I think, for 80 million back in the mid 90s. And I've been in the technology game for more than 30 years, and I've a long track record with very successful drone operations. Some of the partners we work with are Aloft. They're a UTM provider, maybe one of the best UTM, that's unmanned traffic management system provider systems that we integrated into EagleWatch. Drone Harmony builds 3D maps of facilities and infrastructure. Easy Aerial is one of the more successful drone tethered drone companies. Amazon Web Services needs no introduction. YOLO is one, if not the best, computer vision applications on the market that we're using for advanced vision research right now that will go into a future version of the product, where it'll allow the system to do license plate recognition, face recognition, object recognition in real time, so that when our drone is flying and it happens to see somebody, it can identify that that's a human being, or that's an animal, or a dog, or a cat, or whatever it is, or a car. And if there is a car, we can read the license plates. And this becomes an add-on that's very important for many applications. You might want to run a mission where your drone just flies down the parking lot looking at all the cars that are there and matching their license plates against known registrations. It's just one example. And IBM Watson, again, is mostly machine learning. Charles's statement is correct. We are at the right place, the right time, with the best people in technology. There are many uses for autonomous robotics. Our solution is tailor-made for our market, and we have all the ingredients to succeed. So I couldn't have said it better myself. I think RDARS is in a great position to capitalize on this market. It's a medium-term play, I think. It's an investment that I've made personally, not just from the stock that I've been given by the company as a director, a CTO, but also as a private holder. I believe in it, and I think in the next 3 to 5 years, there'll be significant growth for our company. And Anna, it's all yours.
Great job, Jason. Okay, we do have some questions. You mentioned this in your presentation, but I want you to really get this point in there. Talk a little bit about how RDARS is different than other drone companies, and why should investors look at RDARS differently?
Great. So RDARS, like I said, was built from the ground up to be FAA compliant. And as a result, we've become experts in the regulatory requirements for the FAA. One of their requirements is command and control, so that you have some connectivity to and from the drone, or to and from your station at all times. There are drones on the market today, but they have what's called line of sight radio. So you've got a remote and you have a radio, and you're able to communicate with that drone remotely. Almost none of the small quadcopters on the market today from a company like DJI or Skydio have a backup for that. So backup cellular, backup SATCOM, or some other type of communication on board the drone. Eagle Eye has Wi-Fi that's connected to the nest as its main communications. It can connect to the facility's Wi-Fi. It can connect on cellular. It can connect on SATCOM. So in the event of any one of those communication losses, if all of them should go down in a major power failure and they have no communications, Eagle Eye will still continue to operate autonomously, and it will automatically fly back to its home and say, hey, I can't complete the mission because, you know, there's no power here, there's no communications, and it's not safe. So the mission control center, wherever that happens to be located, will always have eyes on the status of a remote drone as it's happening. And the same is true, the same redundancies apply from the smallest piece of hardware, the Eagle Eye drone, all the way up to the mission control centers. If all of Miami mission control should happen to go down, all the current missions that are in operation will be handed off to other operations centers around the planet. So it could be New York, could be LA, could be Hawaii, could be Japan, China, wherever it happens to be. It automatically will look for the nearest, closest operator that can take over that mission in real time so that there's no loss in communications. And I think that's the FAA's #1 risk management requirement, that you have operable control over your drone. And the next thing is we built logic into the system that prevents it from just flying off anywhere it wants to go. It's highly geofenced. The drone can't, you know, deviate from its pre-programmed waypoints. Nobody's flying the drone anywhere they want to go. At best, the remote operator can rotate the drone when it's hovering at a location to get better eyes or angles from the camera, but it can't just tell the drone, hey, go flying off in this direction because I want to see what's, you know, 300 meters away or 500 feet in that direction. So the drone, for all intents and purposes, is following a highly studied set of waypoints, a route to where it needs to go. So if it needs to get a window on the second floor, it's going to follow a very specific route to get to that window that minimizes the risk to infrastructure, people, or anything else for that matter. So in that sense, it's a really safe system to operate, and I think that's what differentiates us from everyone else. And lastly, I would just say we packed all those technology into the same size and format that other systems are offering with a lot less, that don't have these things.
Thank you for that clarification. Talk a little bit about the chances for regulatory approval and a timeline on that.
Yeah, so I think over the last year, we've seen some really nice progress from the FAA. As you can imagine, the federal government, the FAA is a beast. They're very difficult to deal with, and for good reason. For more than 50, 60 years, we've had commercial airspace that has been operating very safely with tens of thousands of flights going on a daily basis. And when drones came into the picture, you know, nobody really understood what that would look like. You can't just take a couple of million drones and dump them into the aircraft management airspace and expect that to work, because that just won't work. That will kill the management system that's currently been working. So I think the FAA has been right to slowly progress this and find the technologies that can achieve safe operations and, you know, give us that future that we want, where drones are actually helpful and don't you know, provide a real risk to people. Today, even with the best large-scale technologies, you can't have drone deliveries flying all over the place in your neighborhood safely, because the risk of a drone falling out of the sky is still very high. We just haven't reached that level of technology where you can count on, you know, an extra 1,000 drones flying around New York City every day, and that one of them's not going to fly, you know, crash out of the sky and hit a taxi or a person, God forbid, you know, and it would kill them. So it's not even a small quadcopter like ours. If the propellers were to hit somebody, it could cause severe injury to a person. So it is a very dangerous thing, and we're not yet there on the tech side to achieve that. However, that said, we have really gone to crazy extremes to mitigate risk. It is the number one thing that this company does. If you ask me, we're building great technology, great, that's awesome. But really what we're doing is we're building great risk mitigation. So the FAA, I think, will look at us in a very favorable way. It will take time. We're going to do our deployments. We're going to gather data from those deployments. We're going to go before the FAA with all of our data and say, hey, look, we've done 500 flights at these locations that you're aware of. Can we now do this without any visual observers, without any, people on site? Can we do it remotely? And they'll say, most likely, yes. And then they'll say, okay, you've done 500 more flights without anyone being there, and you've had only one incident, which was, a drone that didn't power up or the propeller broke and it fell out of the sky, but it didn't hit anybody because it was on the roof of a building when it happened. So we're going to allow you to operate at similar locations in this select area. Let's say they're not going to give us a broad blanket approval just yet, but it's a step-by-step process. And I think that the more we move the needle along those lines and at the same time continue to improve our operating procedures and the technology that goes along with it, I think that the FAA, if there is somebody that's going to get a scalable, beyond visual line of sight solution, it has to be us, because there's nobody else building what we've built that I'm aware of. To the level of risk management that I'm aware of. So I think I've always said this to my team: if the FAA says no, it's because they're afraid to say yes. Because if they say yes to us, they got to say yes to DJIs of the world who are going to dump $100 million and roll out products left and right. So I think it's a matter of time, but I do think we can have a customer base of 10 to 15,000 customers within the next 2 to 3 years. That's a tremendous amount of revenue to start with. And then over the next 5 years and greater, you're looking at a much wider scale, especially as the regulatory approvals start to loosen up.
Wonderful. We did have lots of questions on customers. I think you did answer most of those. Do you work with just residential, commercial, and education? Dean Armstrong is asking regarding customers.
Yeah, so I think the number one customer for us outside the defense industry, of course, would be the large enterprise infrastructure campuses. So, and that could be a university campus. So you have a wide area that's secured, that has lots of buildings and lots of areas that need security. I've been to a university recently, and I met with they have their own police department, which is not unusual for very large campuses. And they told us that they have students who hit these little blue buttons on poles when they feel uncomfortable. It's 2 o'clock in the morning and they're walking home from a building to their car, and they want a security officer to help them. And it oftentimes takes up to 5 to 10 minutes for security to get in a golf cart and go all the way out to that location, whereas a drone could be responding to that individual's call for help within a minute. It could be on site, providing video feedback and allowing that person to feel comfortable that, okay, security's watching me, I'm on camera, I can walk to my car and do what I have to do and not feel uncomfortable that something's going to happen to me. That's just one example of many that you could have. And that's true for large campuses that are whether they're commercial, office buildings, industrial complexes, research facilities. Now, as to the residential market, I think that there is a market in the top 1% maybe that has a large house, a huge mansion somewhere, and they want to have this technology to augment their security. People who feel at risk could want to add it, but I wouldn't see this in your regular housing urban environment anytime soon. It's just not practical for a number of reasons to see this in a neighborhood. I don't think people need that level of security either. But that market that I told you about represents hundreds of thousands of potential customers, not just in the United States, but around the world, you're looking in the millions.
And Jason, probably our last question due to time, we'll see, but from Reg, a follow-up about the customers. What is your average profit margin per customer?
So costing hasn't been fixed just yet. However, I have some very good numbers that I can forecast. And of course, these aren't written in stone. So just be careful with exactly what I'm telling you. But I think that we're looking at something around $20,000 per deployment per customer per unit. So if you wanted an Eagle Nest and an Eagle Eye deployed with Starlink, you're looking at about $20,000 for the hardware, and that would be applied to a contract that's a multi-year agreement tied to your alarm system. So it's, at the end of the day, it's like buying a couple of very expensive cell phones. It's a low barrier for large companies to get their head around. They don't need to hire drone pilots. They don't need to get involved with regulatory approvals. They don't need to do anything. They just need to call us. People come and install it for you like they would install your internet or your alarm system, and it's hands off after that. Now, there may be add-ons and incentives, for extra features, services that you want to add, maintenance agreements and things like that sales will offer as add-ons. But you're looking at a low monthly cost to get into this thing, which I think is really going to change how people look at this, because the costs, a similar system that's advertised on the market today is leasing for $3,500 a month for just one unit, which is just extremely expensive. I just don't see most people, even larger companies, saying, "Oh, I need that. Let me waste $15,000 a month getting a few of these on my property."
Wonderful. Well, Jason, this is fascinating and very relevant technology here. So we're thrilled that you are on our conference, and we would love to have you back with some updates. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Anna. Take care.
Okay, everyone, stay with us. We'll be right back with our next presenter.